All right, sixth graders, this is to help you with question 2 on CR 16. It says Tamara walked 2¼ miles. How many feet did she walk? And they give you a connection. They say 5,280 feet is 1 mile. Lots of ways to go about this. What I personally choose to do is on one side of a proportion. I believe you're studying about ratios and proportions right now. I set up a rate on one side. I know that there is, if I can set it up any way I want. I could do miles to feet. And I take my fact that I'm given and I set that up on one side of the proportion. So I know 1 mile is 5,280 feet. Then I'm given a number that has to go on the other side of the proportion. So if I chose to put miles on top here, I have to keep miles on top on the other side. So I'm going to do miles over feet again. So 2¼ miles needs to go here. Then I say, oh, I know both of my numerators. Well, how do I get from 1 to 2¼ 1 times 2¼ will get me to 2¼ If I'm going to multiply my numerator by 2¼ I have to multiply my denominator by 2¼ So now I have to take 5,280 feet and multiply it by 2¼ In order to multiply by a mixed number, first step is to rewrite that mixed number as an improper fraction. So to multiply by a mixed number, there's actually a few options. You could rewrite that mixed number as a decimal if you want, and some students might prefer to do that. But if you want to leave it in fraction form, you have to rewrite mixed number as an improper fraction. All right, and so that's my first fraction, not factor. To rewrite that mixed number as an improper fraction. So that's going to be my first step. I'm going to take 2¼ and rewrite that as an improper. I first always like to do visuals for myself. So I have 2 whole circles, and I have 1/4 of another circle. So I'm going to break that into quarters. And I only have one of those, so I just have, I just have 1/4 of another circle, so I just have that much of the other circle. And so I'm going to take my first 2 circles and I'm going to break them into quarters. So if I have 2 1/4 circles, the whole point is how many quarters do I have? How many fourths do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4 in my first circle, and then I'm up to 5, 6, 7, 8 for my second circle, 9. 2¼ is 9/4, or 2¼ is 9/4. One way you could do that, 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 more is 9. That's the mathematical way if you're not a visual person. So now we have 5,280 times 9/4. Second step, I'm going to write any whole numbers as a fraction by putting it over 1. That's what I'm going to do. Now we can either simplify first or we can multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. And so that's your next step. You either simplify, that would mean 4 goes into 4 once. How many times does 4 go into 5,280? Or multiply straight across the top, straight across the bottom. And if you choose to multiply first, you'll simplify in the last step. So this third step can go in either order. You either simplify first, then multiply, or multiply first, then simplify. I think I'll simplify first just to make my life easier. So 4 goes into 4 once, and I'm going to see how many times does 4 go into 5,280. So this is my scrap work off to the side. How many times does 4 go into 5280. 4 goes into 5 once. Subtract off. You got 1 left over. Drag down that 2. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract off. You got 0. Drag down that 8. 4 goes into 8 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. Subtract off. You got a 0. Drag down that 0. How many times does 4 go into 0? 0 times. So that's 1320. Now I'm going to multiply straight across the top. Multiplying straight across the bottom, I'll get a 1. I don't have to even write that in. So I have to do 1320 times 9. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 2 is 18. Put down an 8, carry a 1. 9 times 3 is 27, and 1 more is 28. 9 times 1 is 9, and 2 more is 11. So I'm getting 11,880 feet. Oops, sorry about that. 11,880 feet. There we go. It's letter B. All right, so this is my little scrap work down here. This is more scrap.